Welcome to the Swipe Right Effect podcast, where we will be sharing with you the power to get unstuck by swiping right on yourself. Your host, author C.K. Collins, aka Kelly, gets personal with her guests, sharing stories of themselves getting unstuck with wisdom and guidance. Where do you feel stuck? Are you waiting to get your new life started after a big change? You've come to the right place. So with that said, let's get started.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Swipe Right Effect, the power to get unstuck. I'm C.K. Collins, aka Kelly. And today we're going to be talking to Krista Melanson. And I hope I got that right.
You did. Perfect.
I think I did. So let me tell you a little bit about Krista and then we'll get started. After years of dating in the wild, I love that, and feeling like she was going to be alone forever, she decided to put her big girl pants on and get serious. Krista researched, took courses, and refined her process until she found her perfect partner. 5 years later, she's happier than she's ever been, and she's sharing her experience and her expertise with women over 40 who want to find lasting love as well. Yes, we do. We want to
absolutely.
So, Krista, I mean, that's very little bit about you. You have a much bigger story, but I'd love for you to share with everybody how you got into the coaching and kind of what your mission is. And you seem like this is your life purpose now, and I'd love to hear more about that.
It really is. You know, I've spent years as a mom doing everything and wanting to, do everything for my kids and help them and be there for them. And then I realized that I want to help more than just my kids, that need to help wasn't entirely just motherly. It was just sort of who I was. So basically, I was a single mom with 3 kids, and I was working, 2 or 3 jobs, and just sort of feeling alone when the kids were at their dad's house. I couldn't get over this feeling that, I was by myself and the people who were supposed to be with me were not with me, and I didn't have anyone to share my time with, and I worked so much. I'll be honest with you, it was not unusual for me to eat dinner out of a frying pan in bed with a bottle of wine on the bedside table.
I can relate to that.
Right. And that's assuming I didn't have a bowl of cereal for dinner. But, I had met people and been on the dating apps and met guys. And, there's a lot of guys who are disingenuous. You can tell they don't want a relationship, or they don't want to meet somebody, or you don't know what they're looking for, or they're, sending inappropriate pictures right off the bat. Maybe they thought that was a great thing.
That, yeah.
Right. And so I just decided I don't want to be this person. I want to do better. I want to have somebody to share my life with. And I was very much out front at all times when I was dating with, this is my ultimate goal. And so I ended up, like it said in my bio, I researched and took courses and things like that, and really dialed in how to make dating successful. And I found my perfect partner. And it's funny, one of the things he said to me, one of our first conversations, he said, "What do you do when you're not working?" And I said, "Work." And he said, "What are you looking for in a relationship?" And I said, "A reason not to work so much." Right. But when I found him, I had friends who were my age. I was 51 at the time when I met him, who were my age, and they were dating, and everybody had the same outlook. It was soul crushing, or it was humiliating, or it was depressing, or whatever. And I totally identified with that. But I also heard a lot of people say, well, I was talking to my sister the other day, and she said, just give up because it's not worth it, hustle. And I think it's worth every second of it now that I have found my love, and, we mesh amazingly together. I think it's worth every second. And I don't like to see women give up. Like, it breaks my heart because, like I said a few minutes ago, if somebody's hungry, you don't say, just get over it. Right. And that's more of a physiological need, but it's the same thing. If this is something you want, you don't tell somebody to get over it. So if you know that you want love in your life, you shouldn't ever get over it. You should continue seeking that love and never give up, because it can happen at any age, right? I was 51 and my partner, we never would have met in real life if we hadn't met on an app, because our worlds just didn't collide like that. Right. And he'd never had kids and wanted a woman who didn't have kids. And here I was, a bit of a train wreck with my 3 kids who were teenagers. So you can imagine it wasn't even a nice age, right?
Right. It is a bit of a challenging age.
But if I can find somebody like that, then anybody can. And my grandmother got married when she was 75 and moved across the country to live with her new husband. And they had 20 years together before he passed away. So, it's never too late. And I don't ever want to hear somebody say, I give up, it's not worth it, because it really is.
Right. And it's something you said. I've had many conversations with my single girlfriends about, this need versus want thing. And it's, when you're younger, you have a need or a desire to have children or create a household, or it's just kind of the American thing. And that's what our parents did. And so we think that's what we're supposed to do. And,
right.
And then, 30 years into the marriage, it doesn't work out or even not that long, but, and then it's like, okay, what do I need or want now? And what I love about, after dating for a while and working on myself and kind of becoming who I want to date, then it became that this is what I want, not what I need. And that feels healthy. Right. That feels healthier.
Definitely, because I think we've all, and in our generation for sure, sort of tend to shy away from the I need a man mentality. And at our age, once we've been single for a while, we really can do it all. And that's what I always said, I can mow my lawn and I can fix this and that, and I can manage the kids and I can plan the travel and I can do all of it. I just don't want to do all of it.
Yeah.
So I want somebody to share, and not necessarily the chores, but just the responsibility. Everything is on your shoulders when you're on your own. Even having somebody to bounce ideas off, if you're going on vacation, where do you want to go? Where should we stay? What airline should we fly? Or what are we having for dinner? It's sharing your life, and it's very much a want versus a need. So we have proved that we can do it all ourselves and we don't need somebody. But there's nothing wrong at all with wanting somebody.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So in my book, The Swipe Right Effect, I talk about becoming who you want to date. And I feel like I talk about it all the time, because I believe in the law of attraction, and I think it's really important to work on yourself, but not necessarily like we were talking about before we started, but not necessarily because there's something wrong with you, but because you want to be who you want to date. And I just think that's amazing. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. When we approach this with a negative attitude, whether it's a negative attitude about ourselves or about the possibility of finding someone, the negativity is what we put out in the world, and that does not attract somebody. But when you are positive about yourself, you're positive, you realize that once, for all of us who have gotten to this point in our lives, we have achieved things, we've accomplished things, we have, had children or careers or whatever. So we have so much to offer. We need to embrace the positivity and embrace what it is that we offer, and understand that we are amazing exactly how we are. And the right man, when he comes along, is going to love us for exactly who we are. And I always say, if you have a date with somebody, or you chat with somebody, and they ghost you or they disappear, they were not aligned with you in the first place. So don't lament losing this amazing guy, because he was not the right guy for you, or he would still be there. And in my Facebook group, every morning, I do a positive affirmation live video. And, just the things that we should repeat to ourselves to drill into our subconscious. I am enough exactly the way I am. This is my time. I deserve to find love. I am attracting my perfect partner with my positive attitude, all those types of things. And we really need to embrace that, whether it's by rewiring pattern interrupt or affirmations, meditations. There's so many different ways to do it. But we all need to embrace the amazing women that we are so that we understand that there's somebody out there who's also going to think we're amazing.
Right. Yeah. I think that I do talk about with people all the time about the self-love and how I had to get started with just a mantra, because there was so much noise in my head that the only way I could slow it down was, you are enough. And my sister-in-law, Melissa, when the day I told her about my divorce, my impending divorce, and kind of told her the news of what had just happened in our marriage. And she showed up at my office with a bracelet, and I still have it, but it says, "You are enough." And I just mentally clamped down on that and let that be my mantra. So I love that you're giving that to women, different things to say, because I mean, there was so much self-loathing, self-doubt, and pain going on that I just needed that one thing to be able to say to myself in the mirror, in the car, in the bathtub, wherever, if the noise started, I would just say, I am enough. I am enough. I am enough. And it was really an important step for me, because I'd spent years feeling like I wasn't. And so it was time to learn that.
And also, to a certain extent, putting the past in the past, we learn from the past and it makes us who we are. Absolutely. But it's past. So that doesn't figure into our lives now other than a learning lesson. So we need to put the past behind us. And that's all the self-doubt, whether it was somebody telling you that you weren't good enough or making you feel like you weren't good enough, or you were doing it to yourself. We need to start moving forward in the positive mentality and mindset and knowing how amazing we are.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's also really tricky to kind of portray who you are and your goals of, I do want to be in a long-term relationship, a permanent relationship, and all of that in your profile. So, I mean, I know it's important to have a good profile, but what are some of your tips to kind of, I mean, you can say, hey, I'm amazing, but there's probably a better way to say that.
Well, there is, and there's sort of an art to creating a profile, and you want to keep it interesting, but you don't want to give everything away in your profile, right? All the fine details, the minutiae of your life are things that should come out in conversation. So you want to keep your profile light and interesting. And ideally, you want it to spark a conversation and engage with questions. So stay away from things like, I graduated from Yale, top of my class. They'll figure out you're intelligent once you start talking to them, right? But you can say, instead of saying, and I'll tell you when I finish this, a little caveat about what I put in my profile, but instead of saying, I'm looking for long-term love, you can say, I'm on the road to creating my happily ever after and looking for the right person to share that journey with me, which says very much that, I'm looking for somebody long-term rather than casual dating, and keep it interesting. Instead of saying, I love to travel, which everybody says if they like to travel, you can say, watching a movie on the couch is great, but I'd prefer to be eating a croissant under the Eiffel Tower. And then they know that you like to travel. So you sort of make it interesting and light at the same time. And the pictures are really important because, again, you want them to spark interest, but you really need to have an honest portrayal of yourself. So if you like to go to fancy restaurants and wear high heels and get dressed up all the time, then don't show a picture of yourself four-wheeling in the mud. right? And a lot of women treat the matches and the dating like an audition, but they should very much be looking at it as an interview instead.
Oh my
Right?
gosh.
You're not trying to make somebody like you. You're saying, here I am. What have you got to offer me? Essentially,
Yeah.
right?
Wow.
So,
Boom. That's a soundbite right there.
yeah,
I love that.
It really is. And I alluded to my profile. I got angry after a while, and I said, because I think a lot of women, they go on the dating apps, they delete them, they go on, they delete them back and forth. And at one point, my profile said, don't message me with one word. I'm looking for a long-term relationship. If you're not, don't message me. Don't send me any rude pictures. And this was just like, no. And I actually got a lot of response from it.
Wow.
But
interesting.
I don't recommend making it negative, but at the same time, it's very attractive to men when a woman knows what she wants.
I find that very true. And and I have seen when perusing the men's profiles, I've seen a lot of, if you're going to ghost me, please don't bother, and people complaining. And I usually am a big swipe left on that, because I'm just really positive person. And I understand they maybe have had some bad experiences, but I look at this like a chance to meet people I wouldn't have met and to make new friends. I really look at it as an investment in me, because my most precious commodity is time. And when I'm giving someone my time, I'm not necessarily investing in them. I'm investing in myself. And then if we like each other, then we're investing in each other. But I think it's really important to recognize the amount of time it takes, and money too, because I tend to try to at least, pay for the second date, or even go halvesies on the first date, because I don't want the guy to feel like I'm taking advantage of him. I've had plenty of men go, absolutely not, I'm a gentleman.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's just me. I'm independent. Like you said, I can do it.
Well, and that's a tricky thing too, because our generation, we're used to chivalry, but our new independent single selves are going, I can take care of myself. But deep down inside, I think a lot of us, not everyone for sure, but a lot of us are looking for that man who is chivalrous and who will say, I'm going to pay for dinner, right? And maybe not all the time for the rest of your life, but you do want that sort of, it's almost an expression of interest, but that's putting a dollar value on person. So that's not what I mean, but it shows that they are sort of invested in trying to create something with somebody. So, and I look at as every failed match, every failed date was a connection with somebody.
Yeah.
And it's practice towards the real thing when you meet somebody. And you've eliminated one unsuitable candidate, and you're one step closer to finding that perfect partner.
Yeah, it's very much like a sales mindset. I was in sales for a long time, and even in the news publishing business, that's your job, is sales, and make sure you got money coming in. So there's always that, one more no means you're closer to the next yes, and it's just that kind of mentality. Or the answer's no until you ask was the one I used to love to say to my sales team. Well, have you asked? Because the answer's no until you ask. And but that's, I think what I became comfortable with after a while was I'm happy to split this with you. And if they say, oh, absolutely not, I've got it, and I say, okay, well, I get to pay on the second date. And they always go, oh, that's so nice. I always get a positive response. I did have one who said, I will never let you pay for my meal. The end. And I was like, okay.
Well, and that's very much a feminine energy versus a masculine energy too, right? The feminine energy is leaning back and receiving, and the masculine energy is being the giver. So, I mean, in this particular case, we are talking about men and women dating. So there's nothing wrong with a woman embracing her feminine energy and allowing herself to receive from the man. And that comes in so many different ways too. It's not just paying for dinner, but it's getting a compliment. You know, you look beautiful today. Oh, I was busy all day, you know, instead of just saying, thank you.
Yeah. I'm practicing that thank you thing. That has been hard for me because it wasn't a thing in my marriage. Like there wasn't compliments happening. So it's still very foreign to me, but it is nice. And I think when, I've also talked with my girlfriends a lot about this masculine, feminine energy thing. And, I think there's a real misconception. I think that although men may be attracted to an accomplished woman, it doesn't mean that they necessarily want to be served masculine energy back. And so
Definitely.
it's kind of tricky to find that balance and to, like you said, to sit in a receiving mode and enjoy it and let them know that you appreciate it and you enjoy it. And so it was hard for me. I'd never even heard of masculine and feminine energy when I started dating. And my one girlfriend, Beth, she was like, oh yeah, girl, you put out a lot of masculine energy because you're a goer and you're a doer. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I need to go read about this. I should have had a dating coach, apparently.
Well, and the other thing is too, is that I'm always really quick to tell women who are not as familiar with the idea is that I'm not suggesting you play any sort of games.
Right.
You know, this is not sit back and be coy and pretend, oh,
right.
Look at, you know, this is just allowing yourself to receive things from somebody. And that's a good thing. You know, that helps with your positive energy and your outlook, and your valuing yourself is just to allow yourself to receive it. And it comes back to that, you know, learning your value and your worth is, yes, I do deserve this compliment. I'm amazing. Or yes, there's nothing wrong with someone taking me out to dinner because I'm great and we're having a date. You know, everything's amazing how everything is all tied in together.
Yeah. So you mentioned a few minutes ago, like, don't just say one word. So you do get a lot of hi or how are you today? Or, you know, so what do you suggest? What are some tips you have for first chat profiles since you brought that up?
Oh, well, it's interesting. I actually just did a 7-part live video on initial chat strategies. For me, and, you know, sometimes I was quick to judge. I think we all are sometimes. But if I got a 1-word message, I didn't bother with them. I blocked them and moved on to somebody else.
Oh, wow.
Because if well, my thinking was, if that's the best you can come up with, because you never get a second chance to make a first impression, if that's the best you can come up with, then I'm really not interested. So, I mean, the first thing is you have to decide if their message is worth a reply. And, you know, it may be that he sends a message saying, hey, and you look at his profile and he ticks every single one of the boxes. And so you want to give him a chance for sure. But I always encourage women, I say, pick up your phone and text, hi, how are you? I was interested by your profile. I'd love to chat. How long did that take? 5 seconds. Mm-hmm. If they can't find the 5 seconds to do that, you know, where is it going to go from there?
Yeah.
And so hopefully they will come out with an interesting opening line to which you would reply something like answer a question or whatever, something light. But again, you want to keep the comments short and fun, because you want it to be like a conversation in real life, right? You want it to evolve and continue. And so, you know, hey, it's nice to meet you. Thanks for messaging me. I'm a single mom. I do this, I do that, blah, 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 blah. You don't need to do all of that. You just need to say, it's nice to hear from you. You know, what have you been up to today? Or a great one is when it's holidays and you can say, you know, how did you spend your long weekend or whatever? And like conversation points that don't go too deep into it are always great. And you want to be a little flirty, but you don't want to be overbearing. and you want to be attentive, but you don't want to love bomb. You don't want to say, oh, you're the greatest guy I've ever met. I can't wait to meet because I think we're going to be married and have a wonderful life together. You want to say, geez, it's interesting. I'm looking forward to meeting you. And the other thing that I think is really important, and especially for anybody who's in a big metropolitan area and there can be so many matches, is if the person seems interesting, you need to move it from chat to a meeting, like even if it's just a coffee date, relatively quickly. And I always recommend within a week or two, because you don't want a pen pal. And if you've got so many matches and options, you have to sort of find a way to expeditiously move through them.
Right.
And so
Absolutely.
moving it to the coffee date is quick and easy. And it allows you to meet with them face to face and see if there is any chemistry that makes it worth having that first date, which is a little more substantial, like a dinner or something.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
What do you think are the challenges or extra challenges that women over 40 face when they're dating?
Well, the one of the biggest ones is what we talked about, the positivity and the self-worth, obviously. Another thing is that quite often, once you reach our age, all your friends and family may be married and have families and be busy with them. So they're not always able to be there for you on a dating because they may not relate to the position you are in your life.
Right.
Also, at our age, there is still a certain amount of stigma involved in the whole dating app thing. And I remember it was my daughter who put me on Tinder. And she said, Mother, I'm going to sign you up for Tinder. I said, no, you're not. That's a hookup site. She said, no, it's not, Mom. I'm like, really? Right. And so
that's
at
what
our
we
age,
hear.
that's what we hear. Right. And I met my boyfriend on Tinder. So clearly it is not just a hookup site, but there is a little bit of a stigma, and women don't always want to share that with their families and say, I'm on the dating apps. Even my boyfriend, when I met him, he didn't tell anybody we met on a dating app.
Yeah.
People said, where did you meet? He said Starbucks, which was true. That's where we met in person. But he still felt the stigma, and he's 4 years younger than me. So it's not always easy to sort of wrap your mind around the dating app thing, which is why there's a lot of women prefer Bumble, because they're just on there, but it's the man who reaches out, right? So they don't have, or it's the woman who reaches out so she can control who it is that she talks to and,
right.
who she matches
that's
with.
the one I prefer. I'm more comfortable there. I think it just kind of depends on.
Yeah, because then you're not being bombarded in your inbox with all sorts of maybe slightly sketchy guys.
Well,
So
yeah. I mean, I never did Tinder, but Match, I was uncomfortable with the fact that people who didn't meet my profile, like who I want in a guy, and they make you put that up clearly.
yeah.
And they're not even close, but they reach out to you anyway, and it was just like, I really don't, I'm not great at saying, please leave me alone. So it made me uncomfortable. So I got off a Match. But I know people got married from their partners for Match. So it's not necessarily a bad thing for everybody.
Well, there's so many different dating apps out there, and different things appeal to different people for different reasons, right? And I mean, I remember I found plenty of fish a little bit sketchy, only because they had sort of the background part of it where it was a hookup site. And I thought, well, just because they have that means they must be a little sketchy on their legit side. And plenty of fish never worked for me. But Tinder did, because of the ease, swipe left, swipe right, and that's all it is. So, but the other thing that I think is also really important for people to keep in mind is that when they match with somebody in a dating app, that's all it is a match in a dating app. You don't owe these people anything at all. So if you've had a conversation for a day or two, and they're not the right person for you, there's no shame in saying, I don't think we're a good match. Good luck in your search, but then block them so that they can't keep coming back and go, well, what's wrong? Why didn't we match? I think we're great, blah, 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 right? Blocking, I say block and walk, is always a good thing. You don't owe these people anything. They're a casual online encounter.
Yeah.
So block them so they can't keep coming back.
That makes so much sense. But as this Southern woman, and I'm supposed to be nice, and I'm all Pollyanna in my head. I always had a hard time blocking people. It felt mean.
Yeah. And definitely I can see that, but it's a way of we're back to sort of protecting ourselves and putting ourselves first. And you don't want people to keep coming back, right? And they will. And there's a whole trend now, they've called it being zombied. And that's when somebody ghosts you. But it makes perfect sense. Listen to this. When somebody ghosts you, as happens, men do it and women do it. It's not just men who are doing it, but somebody ghosts you. And so you think, well, geez, I guess he wasn't a right match. And then a month later, he comes back from the dead and pops into your inbox like nothing's happened, right?
Right. That's called a zombie. So, I love that.
That's being called zombied. And it makes sense. They all of a sudden, hey.
That is so awesome. Yes, I've definitely had that happen. That's so interesting.
Right. But if you block them, you're putting yourself first. You're saying, I don't owe you an explanation. I've been polite and said we're not a match. That's the end of it. It's like setting a boundary for yourself. This is my boundary. I'm no longer talking to this person. So I don't want him to keep coming back and pestering me, essentially, right?
Yeah. So when if one of the listeners is like really jiving with what you're saying and they think that they might want to work with you, what does that look like? I mean, I know they'll probably set up a call with you and all that, but kind of what is the first thing that happens when somebody starts to work with you?
Well, the first thing that happens is, of course, that we'll have an onboarding conversation where we'll talk about the program and everything that I am offering. Currently, I have a beta program that I'm offering that is really high in delivery. So it's a 6-week program with 6 modules. The first thing we start with is the positivity and the mindset and, embracing who you are and understanding what you have to offer. And the 6 modules go, through the positivity and mindset and the strategy and the dating apps and the conversation or the initial chats and fixing up your profile. And it doesn't stop when you meet somebody. I continue to help people through the initial stages because we always have those moments, even as grown-ups, the high school moments where, I didn't hear from him. Has he lost interest? What's going on? And sometimes you need help sort of guiding through those waters as well. So, and the program is, it's a 6-week program with 6 modules, but 6 months of coaching calls and, group coaching calls and being involved in the website or the Facebook page that's specific just to the group. And then with this program, also with the 6 modules comes 6 weeks of one-on-one calls. So awesome. Yeah, 1 30-minute call per week for 6 weeks, just because I find that support is so important with women and our age. And there needs to be, a group coaching call is great and you can accomplish so much, but there's just that little bit more that you can talk about and sort of unload in a private call. So I think that that's really important to help women, get going and invest in themselves, both time and energy and everything else, to make this a success, to get their return on investment that they want out of it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. That's my philosophy on coaching as well. I have a 12-week program and it's one-on-one every week. And I have a workbook to kind of support them through that as well. But that one-on-one time, the whole reason I wrote the book is because each chapter is a piece of advice that was given to me. And that those people investing their time in me helped me heal. And so that's my thought is there's nothing better than that one-on-one. And so hopefully somebody will hear you and you guys can work together.
That would be wonderful. That's what I want, is to help people. I don't ever want somebody to give up. If they want love, that's what I want to help them find. And everybody is amazing and everybody has things to offer. And there's 8 billion people in the world. There is somebody out there for everybody, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, I will, I'll put the link where they can make an appointment with you and discuss it in the show notes. But is there any other way that they can follow you, or do you have a website that they could go check out?
I have a landing page for my program, but
Right.
I don't have an actual website. But my Facebook group is Dating Success Secrets for Women Over 40 Looking for Love.
Okay. Oh, I've seen that on Facebook.
Yeah. And so that's only women. And I screen every single person that comes in here, women over 40. And it's just a conversation place. We get so many people come in and they'll say, oh, this guy said this to me last night. What do you think he means by it? Mm-hmm. And it's just a place, an anonymous place. I mean, our names are there, but you can post anonymously, but that your friends and family don't see. And there's no possibility that the man will see. And you can just, I don't allow people to hate on men there. This is not a negative space.
That's important. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not, don't come in here griping about how terrible men are. Just ask questions. And sometimes it's difficult, why did he ghost me? Or, he said he really loved me, but he needs time for himself. What am I going to do? And all that type of thing. And we're just a community to support people there. So, and my Facebook profile is just Krista Melanson. So
awesome.
Anyone is welcome to follow me there.
All right. Fantastic. So Krista, the last question I have for you is, I ask this to all of my guests. What feeds your soul?
What feeds my soul? It might sound kind of corny, but love feeds my soul. My 3 kids are, the center of my universe, and I love them more than anything. My partner is amazing. We do everything together, and it's their love and looking at them and being so happy to be a part of this family and have these people in my life. That's what gives me the energy to go on. That's what makes me happy and makes me feel fulfilled no matter what's going on.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. I love all the different answers I get from the guests, but I think love and laughter are definitely the 2 most common, and those things mean different things to people, but to different people.
Definitely.
But yeah, thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
So that'll be a wrap for today. Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
Kelly's book is available on Amazon and through your local bookstores. Look for the Swipe Right Effect, the power to get unstuck. Kelly's interviews with 10 friends from around the world unlock powerful truths to getting your new life started.